Welcome to the Heelcast this week. I'm the host, Hurls. It's been a little bit since we've been on the air, but we're about to change that tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We got a great episode of Impact called Under Pressure. It was a pay-per-view special. But first and foremost, before I get into tonight's show and what's going to be special about it, I want to do some plugs real quick. I want to give a shout out to Andre Corbeil. He's one of our great listeners. Check his podcast out. Check Wrestling Robert's podcast out. He's always doing stuff. Check Fool Killer 9's podcast, FK9. Check him out. Give a shout out to our very own Larkin. He does his own thing with the S&M podcast. And also want to give a shout out to Petey Williams, The Wrestling Perspective. It was really cool to get a chance to talk to him earlier in the year. So definitely want to make sure we give a shout out to them. I also want to do a little plug for myself. I'm kind of doing a side thing right now with, it's called the Retro Review Crew. It's on YouTube. And basically what we're going to be doing is reviewing classic video games and some of the newer modern games. But check that out if you're into playing video games. We only have one episode right now where we review the original Mega Man, but we're hoping to get more games there. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're into gaming and whatnot. But anyways, tonight is a very special episode because we have a new person that has never been on the Heelcast before. His name is Carolina Guy Dewayne. How you doing, Dwayne?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to have you on. Dwayne, why don't you tell us about yourself, when you first became a TNA Impact fan, when you maybe some of the events that you saw live, some of the memorable moments that made you become a fan.
I was watching Impact when it first started, so it was really good. 2007 was a really good year for me. I've been to 2 live events, and they were really good. I met Jeff Hardy. That was a good picture I took with him, and he's pretty cool. And he's also from North Carolina, like me, so that was good. Well, that's it.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So you went to these events around what 2010, 2011, somewhere around there?
I think one of them was 2009, the other, 2010, something like that.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Glad to have you on tonight, Dwayne. It's good that we can get more people on here and talk about Impact and get more fans and be passionate about the product. So very, very cool. So first things first, let's get into the news this week. There's been quite a bit that's happened. I guess the biggest news is Impact Wrestling is going to be invading the Jericho Cruise. So, it was kind of announced this week when Sami Callihan kind of started throwing out challenges for Ring of Honor and Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho kind of responded on Twitter saying, "You're more than welcome to come on the cruise. You buy your ticket or whatever." So the rumor is Jericho is inviting Impact, and I would imagine Sami Callihan's going to be there. I'm sure some other talents are also going to be there. But Dwayne, what is your thoughts on Impact Wrestling working in some type of capacity with Chris Jericho?
Well, that's a good combination there. I mean, I like Chris Jericho. He is probably one of the best wrestlers around still, and he's got a good mind for the wrestling industry. So he could actually help Impact do better if they still work, if they wanted to work together more.
Yeah, definitely. I think this could ultimately lead into new opportunities. Possibly get Chris Jericho. I don't know if he would show up at Slammiversary, but it would be pretty cool to see him show up maybe at Bound for Glory, possibly down the road. Now, Chris Jericho has said in the past that he's very loyal to WWE and very loyal to Vince, and he wouldn't want to work for another company in the United States. However, once Impact was bought out by Anthem, they technically turned into a Canadian company. So he technically wouldn't be breaking that promise, since Impact is pretty much now a Canadian company. So kind of a little interesting tidbit there. But I think the whole thing in general would be really cool, and I'd love to see Chris Jericho eventually work on an Impact and a pay-per-view. That would be pretty cool to see. He's definitely done so much in this industry. I was a huge fan of his in WCW and early WWF and WWE, so he's done some tremendous work over the years, so it'd be really cool to have him there. Second bit of news, there's been some added dates to, I guess mainly the one that we kind of knew about was Slammiversary was going to be at the Rebel Complex in Toronto. They added 2 dates after that pay-per-view. Well, now they've added 2 more dates in August. They're going to be taping at the Rebel Complex again, August 12th, August 13th. So I guess we kind of get a little more better picture of what Impact's going to be doing in the next few months. Dwayne, any thoughts on that?
What was it now?
Just basically that Impact has added 2 more dates to the Impact tapings in August. They've added August 12th and August 13th. They're going to be taping Impact at the Rebel Complex.
It's a good location to do it at. So, I mean, I hope they get more locations other than where they've been. But that's a start. I mean, they're doing pretty good.
Correct. I think, and the cool thing is this venue has a lot of cool production towards it, and it's going to be really cool to see if they use that production for good stuff. So, anyways, kind of the last bit of news that we have for today is, well, actually, we got a couple stories. We got the Slammiversary is selling really well. The whole ground, apparently the floor seats are all sold out. They have a few VIPs. At this point, I'm sure they're probably all sold out by now. So my thoughts is it's awesome to see them doing so well in these Canadian markets. They really seem like this is a really good place for them to try to make their position, and it's cool to see that they're doing really well for Slammiversary. So, Dwayne, what's your thoughts there?
They've been doing really good in Canada. So I mean, if Slammiversary is in Canada, then that's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a market to capitalize on, and I think they're doing a solid job at that. I think Don Callis and Scott D'Amore have really found their niche so far, and I think, when they were trying to correct all the past mistakes, of financial turmoil, they've done a really good job in 2018. And, we said it again. We thought 2017 was going to be really promising, but unfortunately, the whole issues with Jeff Jarrett happened and kind of derailed the thing. So I think, Impact, listening to Jericho on hiring Don Callis and hiring Scott D'Amore as a president, it has been a really good move for them so far. So, yeah, really cool to see. That's really about it for news. We don't really want to get into spoilers or anything, but from what I hear, the Windsor tapings went really well. The crowd was just phenomenal, and I heard some of those shows were some of the best Impact shows in a long time. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to go. So yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. And Dwayne, any thoughts on? Did you hear about the Windsor tapings at all?
I haven't.
Okay. So we don't really do spoilers on this show. I definitely don't do spoilers. Maybe some of the other guys have done some spoilers, but I will definitely not be saying any spoilers because I love Impact Wrestling. I definitely don't want to give away anything. So, all right, without further ado, we had an Impact this week. We had a TV special. It was actually kind of a pay-per-view special. It was called Under Pressure. A lot of feuds kind of culminating. But the first match that we had Eli Drake versus Scott Steiner. Dwayne, what was your thoughts on this match?
That was a good match. I mean, it pretty much started the feud with them, and hopefully they finish what they started. That was a good first match for them.
Yeah, I think that it was cool to see Steiner and Eli Drake as a team. I think they did really well together. They made it work, but I don't know if Scott Steiner was ever a long-term solution to anything. I would love to see him more. I hope they use him more down the road, but I mean, we have to face facts. His in-ring career is definitely winding down. Even though he looked good for his age, and he looked good at Redemption, he looked good at some of the stuff he did before that. So, I'm not knocking him, but I think with Eli Drake's financial situation kind of being up in the air, we don't really know what it's going to be. I think they kind of wanted to, break them up and then kind of have them go their own separate ways. And I think that's what this match kind of was. It wasn't like a classic, but I think it was a pretty solid match. The storytelling was good. It was a little rushed, their breakup, but overall, did its job. Eli Drake gets the win the exact same way that Scott Steiner accidentally hits him with the chair when they lost the tag team titles a couple weeks ago. So, thought that was pretty good. I just want to mention, too, Impact actually started off with a meeting with Sanjay Dutt, basically just informing the roster that the authorities have been informed about the recent string of mysterious backstage attacks. So a lot of the wrestlers were pretty concerned in this meeting. Basically, Petey Williams kind of steps up and lets everyone know that whoever the attacker is gonna be sorry, and basically said that whoever's doing it needs to stop and because they're gonna find out who it is. What do you think of this storyline, Dwayne, of the mysterious attacker?
Well, I like that storyline. I mean, I don't know who it is, but it seems like it's either a former X Division star or a new one. So hopefully they reveal who it is.
Yeah, I think with me, whoever gets this storyline is going to come in with a lot of fire, a lot of heat, and it's going to be an impressive debut, you would think, or an impressive comeback, because they've been taking out people for weeks now. So whoever it turns out to be, they've been built up already, even before they've even been seen. So
I mean,
I do like that.
It really doesn't have to be an X Division person. So, I mean, they could just be attacking everybody. So, whoever it is, it's a good storyline with that.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I like that type of stuff. I like when you get like a lot of mystery and suspense in wrestling shows. I mean, you know, we go back to Nitro and Raw back in the late 90s. It was all filled with that, you know, mystery, suspense, anything can kind of happen sort of feel. I know Impact's not live, but, they did a good job with this. And it kind of reminded me of that era in wrestling. So it's always good to have stuff that will keep the audience tuned in and stuff that will keep bringing them back from week to week. So very, very enjoyable storyline there. We'll see where it goes. All right, so the second match of the night, we had Tessa Blanchard versus Madison Rayne. Carolina Dewayne. What do you think of? What did you think of this match?
It was a decent match. I mean, Tessa, she's really good. She's made to be there. So, and Madison Rayne just brings out the best in almost everybody. I mean, that was a decent match.
Yeah. I think. I mean, were you surprised that Madison won this match? I know I was.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I figured it would be good, but didn't think she would win because Tessa, I'm pretty sure they want to build Tessa up. So, guess, it's a decent win for Madison.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, if you really think about it, Madison Rayne's a 5-time X Division champion. Tessa Blanchard, she's coming into Impact basically as a rookie. And she's only like, I don't even know how old she's I think Tessa Blanchard's only like 22 years old. She's crazy, she's really young. And obviously, though, she's a third-generation wrestler. She's, she's $1 million already. She's got the entire package. I mean, I thought this was the way they made it seem like Madison winning was an upset, and I guess it kind of was because Tessa came in so dominating. But I could see some people not being happy with this result. Maybe they think that Tessa should have won and kind of be built up like that. But I don't know. I think it was actually kind of refreshing to see something that we don't expect sometimes. And I think Tessa will be fine. I think there's big things for her. So I don't think it really does her any fault, really. And the way Madison won with the roll-up, I mean, Tessa dominated the match for the most part. So this... but I could definitely see a section of Impact fans or wrestling fans being a little upset that Tessa lost this match. So I was fine with it. I can see where some people would be upset with it, but I think Tessa will be fine, and she could easily win at Slammiversary, and this match won't even matter in due time. So
yeah, I think it was a good win for Madison, and Tessa is, she shouldn't be concerned about that loss. I mean, she'll go far.
Exactly. We didn't really get to talk about this last week because we didn't really have a show, but it was revealed last week that Kingston is the king of LAX, and he's basically running the thing right now while Conan and Homicide are busy. What was your thoughts on Kingston kind of coming back and making his return back to Impact?
I like Kingston, but Kingston, he seems like a manipulative guy. He'll turn his back on you, it seems like. I don't know. I mean, he's just, mysterious in a lot of ways.
Yeah, almost kind of like snaky, kind of.
Yeah, sneaky.
Yep.
He's sneaky.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm glad he's back. He's been busting his butt in the industry for a long time. I mean, he's probably going close to 20 years in the business, if not more. And it's good to see him, finally kind of get a role. I think he's comfortable in. Not saying the DCC is bad, but I don't think it ever worked out the way that they wanted it to work out. So this is a natural fit for Kingston to come back and do this role. I'm not exactly sure his intentions with LAX. It's kind of too early to tell. But it'll be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. So, anyways, we had our third match of the night. It was kind of a random build, if you ask me. It was Brian Cage versus Desmond Xavier. What was your thoughts on this match?
It was actually a good match. Xavier, he does a good. He's a good wrestler, and he took him. He did a good job on Cage, and Cage is hard to beat. He almost had him, but Cage won, I think.
Yeah, I enjoy both of these guys' work so far. I think they're both super, super talented. I actually didn't think these two guys had the best match they could have. I thought their chemistry was off a little bit. And that can happen when you have a guy like Desmond Xavier who can do so much in the ring. And then you have a bigger powerhouse type guy in Brian Cage. But Brian Cage can also kind of do some more flashy stuff as well for a guy his size.
He's kind of, he can do just about anything. He's talented. He's really, really good. To be a big guy, he can do a lot of good, X Division moves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I just think these two could have had a little bit better of a match. There was some sloppy parts in it. But, I mean, it happens. It happens. It wasn't a bad match per se at all. Just for me, I think it could have been a little bit better. But Brian Cage gets the win here over Desmond Xavier with the drill claw. Nothing too surprising there. I think Brian Cage has been basically mowing through the competition so far. Decent little match. Builds up Brian Cage. I don't know what it does for Desmond Xavier. I don't know if it hurts him because I think he had a lot of offense in against a big dominant guy like Cage. So nothing. Yeah. Yeah, nothing too crazy. So, so then the fourth match of the night, we had a last rights match for the Knockouts Championship. It was Allie defending her title against Su Yung. It was a last rights match, basically a coffin casket match. I believe it was the second time in Impact history that we've had this match. Maybe third. I don't know. We might have had a third one. I think Mr. Anderson and Bully Ray had one at one point. I don't know if it was called last rights match, though. I think it was just they called that a casket match, I think. But anyways, this was probably like the third casket match they've ever had in Impact. I thought it was a pretty solid match. I'm a huge fan of Su Yung, so I think it did what it needed to kind of get her character over, and she lost her redemption match, so she kind of, she was with Braxton Sutter at that point, but now it's kind of like her own thing, and she, I love the whole, the undead, the Undead Bridesmaids. I think that's really cool. What was your thoughts?
I liked it. I mean, she proved that she belongs there. So I mean, Allie did a good job. So I mean, she didn't lose anything really. I think it built her up too, really. But you know, the right champion is Su Yung. She can compete with. I think she's a better fit to fight like Kaya and Rosemary when she returns and all that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's kind of filling the void with Rosemary going to be out of action for quite a while. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens now. I mean, I would imagine Allie is going to get some type of return match. You know, Allie had the title for about a couple months, I'd say, which wasn't terrible. You know, it's a decent run, you know, but Allie plays the underdog really well. So I think her chasing the title is probably good, is a good thing for her. I know.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was an interesting match, and it was cool to see the whole Undead Bridesmaids kind of do their thing. So yeah, new Knockouts champion Su Yung. So cool to see. Okay, so backstage we had Eddie Edwards tells his wife, that Alicia, that he's going to fight Sami Callihan in the woods in a no ring, no rules brawl to put an end to this feud once and for all. So Dwayne, overall, I want to get your perspective on this whole Sami Callihan versus Eddie Edwards feud that basically started from one botched baseball bat spot and has become one of the hottest angles in wrestling. What has been your kind of your overall thoughts on this feud in general?
I actually like it. It's a good feud. Got a lot going right now, but Eddie Edwards seems like he's taking it a little bit to the extreme. So I mean, whatever happens with this next match, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think. All right, do you think we're going to get some type of Hardy type stuff next week with that being in the woods, or do you think it's just going to be more of just a straight camera, just filming a brawl in the woods, no like special effects or anything?
I hope it's like a Hardy thing, but I mean, there's nobody that really can do it like Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy done a good job. He you know, but Eddie Edwards, I mean, he's really good. Sami Callihan may be able to pull that off. So hopefully they do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how they're able to swing it, because this feud is so unique, and Eddie is turning into the crazy guy, and it's almost like he's turning into a heel himself. But I think Sami Callihan has to win, though, like, because he's just getting his ass kicked like lately. I mean, he's been like, ever since Lucha versus Impact, I feel like Eddie Edwards has basically gotten the upper hand, and I think they got to. I mean, I think they got to keep Sami Callihan strong here. I don't see how. I mean, I know what they're trying to do with Eddie Edwards, and I just think that Sami Callihan's kind of getting lost in the shuffle a little bit, and they kind of got to keep the momentum going with Sami. So I'm not really sure how they're gonna end this storyline per se, but it's been a really good feud.
Yeah, they gotta keep Callahan, at least relevant.
Yeah, definitely. So then we had the main event. Was for the Impact World Championship. It was Pentagon Jr. defending against Austin Aries. A lot of back and forth. Some really cool spots. But I want to say what really did it for me in this match was probably the last 5 minutes of the match when you had the double countouts, 2 of them, and then the ending with Austin Aries basically fooling the ref, taking the low blow, hitting the brainbuster, and winning again for the 1, 2, 3. I thought that was really clever because how many times do you see, matches go double count out twice and then they keep restarting, but then Austin Aries kind of finally just takes the easy way out and gets a win and cheats and really establishes himself as a heel again. I thought this match was really, really well done, and I enjoyed it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed that match. That was a good match, and Austin Aries is a heel. I mean, you can't get no better than that. He's one of the best. He can be a good face, but he is a lot better as a heel.
Yeah, I think Pentagon Jr. has he's been a really good face, but like we saw in Lucha Underground, Pentagon Jr. Can be a heel, like a really good heel, and we haven't really seen that in Impact yet. But Pentagon Jr. is a phenomenal talent. He's super over right now. I don't think it'll be the last encounter between these two. And Austin Aries, I just love the whole cocky heel thing he played at the end there with the cheesy smile after he gets he wins the championship back. I thought this match was brilliantly done. I'm a huge Austin Aries fan, so
yeah.
I was happy with the ending, but I just loved how they set that whole thing up. So, that was Impact. It was a wrestling heavy episode for sure, which it should have been because it was kind of like a pay-per-view almost, and it was a pay-per-view Impact special for the most part. Dwayne, if you had to give an overall grade for Impact this past week, what would you give it?
I'd say it was at least a 9 because it was really good. I mean, you couldn't have made that main event any better than what it was. You had good wrestling all the way through. There was decent matches. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. That main event was spectacular. It was a good 15 to 20 minute match, and it was about 20 minutes or so. I thought the main event was excellent. I thought the Brian Cage versus Desmond Xavier match could have been a little better. The Su Yung versus Ali match was really good. Great storytelling there. Love the whole, Ali paying homage to Rosemary. That was really cool. Love the whole, the Eli Drake versus Scott Steiner. That was just kind of like, it was rushed, so it was what it was. Madison Rayne beating Tessa Blanchard. I think there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions for that. But it was an upset. It was something nobody predicted, so I think that aspect was kind of cool. I think overall, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Just that main event was spectacular, and I think that in the Ali versus Su Yung match, and Su Yung, finally winning the knockout title, I think that alone, that made it an 8 out of 10. And I think the wrestling action was really good. Do I want every Impact to be like that? No, because I think I do want some more storylines to be thrown in. But overall, we had a great night of action. So, yeah, it was a fun Impact. Next week we got the whole. The only thing that we kind of know is the Eddie Edwards versus Sami Callihan in the Woods. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And good thing about that is there's no spoilers, so nobody really knows what's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. But all right, before we sign off here, Dwayne, any final thoughts?
Not really. I mean, I just look forward to the rest of what's in store with the Aries and Pentagon Jr. And if there's any, going anything forward with that, I hope it, just a good few they got going, if there is one.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of cool stuff happening. I think Slammiversary is going to be really good. I can't wait till we finally get to see the Windsor tapings because there's been a lot of good buzz about that. Slammiversary is going to be really good. I have a lot of faith. The only other thing that I really could mention is I'm not exactly sure when the next One Night Only is going to come out. I know it was the Masagwa show. I think that was taped on June 3rd. So I'm not really sure when that'll come on the network. I don't think there's been an announcement either for the Twitch show for this month. So hopefully we'll get an announcement for the Twitch show because those Twitch shows have been awesome. I've enjoyed them a lot. So, but anyways, Dwayne, thanks for coming on and thanks for being a part of the Heelcast this week.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this week. Keep watching Impact, keep supporting the company, and we'll be back next week with another episode of the Heelcast. Peace.